Welcome to the MI Mental podcast, Doctors in Court. My name is Dr. Sabine Fonderson. Today, I'm diving into a real case that reflects a mistake in medical practice with serious consequences, but it also highlights how we can learn from our errors. In this episode, I'll walk you through a case where a nuclear medicine specialist made a mistake in interpreting a PET CT scan, which led to a delay in diagnosing cancer in a patient. No doctor is perfect, and the story raises some thought-provoking questions about systems in healthcare, accountability, and human error. Before we get into the case, let me quickly explain some of the terms that are essential for understanding the situation. I'm sure many of you have heard of a PET CT scan, but may not be familiar with the details of what it actually does. PET stands for positron emission tomography and CT stands for computed tomography. And when combined, they create a powerful diagnostic tool that provides both detailed images and functional information about the body. A PET CT scan is used to detect cancer and other diseases by highlighting areas of increased metabolic activity. And basically, those are cells that are more active than normal, such as cancer cells. These scans are crucial for finding tumors, assessing the spread of cancer, and monitoring treatment effectiveness. The PET part of the scan shows the activity within the body, while the CT part gives us detailed anatomical images, essentially giving us a map and a heat map of the body. Now let's get back to the case. The patient, I'll call her Mrs. Janssen, underwent a PET CT scan in December of 2008, which showed a suspicious lesion in her breastbone. Now let's fast forward to March 2009. Mrs. Janssen had a follow-up scan to assess whether the lesion had grown. But here's where the mistake happened. The nuclear medicine specialist, I'll call Dr. Smith, who reviewed the scan, mistakenly looked at the wrong set of images. He ended up reviewing the December 2008 images instead of the new March 2009 images. It's a simple technical error. He didn't refresh the system to ensure the latest images were displayed. However, it led him to conclude that the lesion had not changed, even though in reality it had grown. Now, this raises an important question. How much should we really rely on technology to prevent errors in healthcare? So the specialist was using a computer system and it failed to refresh the images correctly. It's easy to think that technology should catch these kinds of mistakes, but we have to ask, are we overly dependent on these systems? And should doctors still double-check everything manually, even when we're relying on the technology to do the job? I think there's a balance that can be found. We cannot blame everything on technology, especially when things go wrong. And yes, it does play a big role, but we also need to ensure we're reviewing everything carefully and double checking, especially, of course, when we're dealing with diagnostics for such a problem. Once Mrs. Janssen continued to experience pain, a third scan was ordered in July of 2009, so a few months later. That's when Dr. Smith realized his error. The mistake had delayed the proper diagnosis of new cancer growths. Now, think about how frustrating that must have been for not only Dr. Smith, but also for Mrs. Janssen. She not only had to go undiagnosed for months, but she had to go through even more tests, and there was emotional turmoil in dealing with her condition being overlooked. But Dr. Smith at that time didn't ignore the mistake. As soon as he realized it, he immediately contacted the referring specialist, explained the situation, and he even visited Mrs. Janssen at her home to personally apologize for the error. He took responsibility, which is really important in maintaining trust between doctors and patients. And here's another question. Should patients expect perfection from their doctors? We know that medicine is a science, but it's also an art. There's a human factor, and we all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. But when something like this happens, it's crucial to ask, how do we as medical professionals balance accountability with the understanding that errors are part of being human? I think the key here is transparency. In all fairness, Dr. Smith could have easily hidden the error or tried to brush it off, but his immediate openness with the patient and his team ultimately helped to rebuild trust. It's not about avoiding mistakes because we all make them, it's about how we handle them. Now let's talk about how this case was handled by the legal system. After the error was discovered, Mrs. Janssen filed a complaint against Dr. Smith. The case went before the Regional Disciplinary Court for Healthcare in Eindhoven, which made a ruling on January 26, 2010. The court found that Dr. Smith had made a mistake by reviewing the wrong set of images, which led to a delay in diagnosing the cancer. However, the court acknowledged that Dr. Smith admitted his mistake promptly, contacted the referring specialist, and even visited Mrs. Janssen at her home to apologize personally. The evidence used in this ruling included Dr. Smith's own admission to the error, his actions to correct the mistake once it was discovered, and the steps he took to prevent such an error in the future. The court also considered his transparency and remorse in handling the situation. In the end, the court issued a warning but did not impose any further sanctions, given that Dr. Smith had taken immediate responsibility for the error and had implemented measures to ensure it wouldn't happen again. The ruling serves as a reminder that while mistakes happen, how we handle them afterward, through accountability, communication, and taking steps to prevent recurrence, plays a significant role in the outcome. Dr. Smith's case was a wake-up call, not just for him, but for all of us in healthcare. And it's not about avoiding mistakes, but about owning them and doing everything we can to make things right for our patients. And to wrap up this episode, we've learned some important lessons. First, technology is a valuable tool, but shouldn't replace the critical thinking and thoroughness of healthcare providers. And second, when errors happen, the best course of action is to own up to them, communicate openly, and ensure that steps are taken to prevent them in the future. Remember, a mistake doesn't define a doctor's career. It's how we as doctors respond and learn from it that counts. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Am I Mental podcast, Doctors in Court edition. I hope you found the case and the discussion thought-provoking, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please leave a comment or share your experience with me. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care and keep doing what you love doing.